Henry awoke to the blaring sound of the sun's trumpet. He groaned, reaching out to silence it, but it continued its relentless blare, signaling the start of another day. The walls of his bedroom, painted in swirls of pastel dreams, seemed to pulse gently, as if breathing along with him. He shuffled to the kitchen, where his breakfast awaited, a bowl of milk swimming with miniature lifeguards, each one diligently ensuring the safety of the cereal flakes floating lazily on the surface. He took a spoonful, savoring the crunch of the lifeguards' whistles, and washed it down with a sip of liquid sunshine, bottled and chilled to perfection. The morning commute was its usual affair. Henry strapped on his helium shoes and floated out of his front door, navigating the aerial traffic of floating bicycles and winged briefcases. He passed the usual landmarks, the gravity-defying waterfall that cascaded upwards, and the park where the trees played hopscotch with the clouds. The city buzzed with its regular symphony of color and chaos, each sound a splash of paint on the canvas of the sky. Arriving at his office, he was greeted by his co-workers, a diligent team of paper clips and rubber bands, each one bending and stretching to get the day's work done. His boss, a particularly stern stapler, clacked out the day's assignments in a series of sharp metallic commands. Henry settled into his desk, a giant accordion that played soft melodies as he typed on his jelly bean keyboard. He visited the local bistro, where the chef, a flamboyant peacock, served up dishes of dancing spaghetti and serenading sandwiches. He chose the singing soup, which crooned a mellow tune as he sipped, filling him with warmth and melody. The afternoon passed in a blur of paperwork, each form a shifting puzzle of colors and shapes, requiring careful assembly before submission. At 5 o'clock, the sky turned a gentle shade of lavender, signaling the end of the workday. Henry bid farewell to his colleagues and floated home, the city glowing softly in the evening light. Back in his cozy apartment, he unwound with his favorite book, a novel about a world where everything was static and predictable. He marveled at the sheer strangeness of it all, an existence where days followed a monotonous rhythm, devoid of the vibrant unpredictability he knew. He drifted off to sleep, only to be jolted awake by the blaring sound of an alarm clock. Henry blinked, disoriented. His room was now an oppressive monotone. The walls were blank, the sunlight harsh and unmusical. He stumbled into a sterile kitchen, where a bowl of silent, ordinary cereal sat waiting. There were no lifeguards, no liquid sunshine. He poured milk over the cereal, the sound of the pour disturbingly plain. He walked to work, his feet firmly on the ground, dodging cars and bikes. The park was filled with regular trees and ordinary benches. The city was a grid of gray, its inhabitants moving in predictable patterns. At the office, he sat at a desk made of wood, typing on a regular keyboard. His colleagues were humans, dressed in standard business attire, and his boss was just a man, issuing mundane tasks with a voice that lacked any melody. Lunch was a sad affair, an unremarkable sandwich and a cup of tasteless soup. The afternoon dragged on, and by 5 o'clock, the sky merely darkened without fanfare. He walked home, the silence of the city pressing in on him. Exhausted, Henry collapsed into bed, the sheets just fabric, the room void of any magic. Suddenly he felt a strange sensation, his body stiffened and his form flattened against the bed. His consciousness faded, and as it did, a sense of profound relief washed over him. Henry opened his eyes. He was back in his familiar world, but not as a person. He was a doormat lying contentedly by the front door, welcoming the colorful, whimsical feet of those who entered his home. Everything was right again. He was home.